What's up, everybody? It's me, Lila Kitty, and today I have something a little bit different. This is more what a lot of the content on my channel is intended to be and will be going forward in the future. So just keep that in mind if you choose to subscribe. I still think you should because I'm funny and I'm fun and you should watch me. Today I have some meme busting is what I like to call it. So I'm going to be debunking some of the that people like to share on the internet and especially on Facebook. So without further ado, let's get started. Season 2, Episode 3 of the hit HBO drama Succession pit Roy family patriarch Logan and his medication side effects against virtually everyone in his inner circle over his desire to take over a competing company. In the course of the now infamous Boar on the Floor incident, Logan chastises his son Roman for not knowing how much a gallon of milk costs. That lit a candle in me to finish a project that I've had in mind for over a year now. There was this meme that I caught circulating among a few of my friends on Facebook, often with the added comment that it was right on target or about all there is to say about this, and it was disheartening. We all see so much of this emotionally driven drivel on the internet, and realizing that that's what it is can be as simple as middle school math. So the reason that this meme disheartened me so much is because it was obviously immediately as I read it complete and so let's dive in. Let's say milk costs $1, and let's say you make $1.23 a day. After taxes, you bring home $1. Right now, you can afford 1 gallon per day. So now you get a minimum wage raise to $18.45 a day. That's awesome. You have more money, right? Well, now in order to stay in business, the milkman has to pay his employees that same $18.45. So the cost of milk goes to $15 a gallon. No big deal, you can still afford it, right? Well, no, you can't. You see, thanks to the minimum wage increase that you are begging for, you've moved up into a new tax bracket. Now, instead of 23%, you pay 29%. $18.45 minus 29% equals $13.10. You can no longer afford the milk you once could. Let that sink in a minute. It's a little ironic that the final statement is a demand that you let it sink in, so do just that. Think a little bit about what you just read, and suddenly the problems will start to occur to you.
For the sake of discussion, let's assume that milk represents all of the things necessary to survive in a day. Rent, tacos, transportation, shoes, etc. In this parallel universe, all a person needs to survive is 1 gallon of milk per day. This meme misleads you with two forms of smoke and mirrors: oversimplification and misdirection. Let's start with misdirection, then merge into the oversimplification before swerving back into misdirection.
Problem 1. $1 is not the net of a 23% tax on a gross of $1.23. You may be fooled by this, as stipulating the tax rate on your $1.23 is not even necessary to make the argument in the meme. Yet this information comes at the end of the meme after it has long been irrelevant to you. However, simple mistakes such as this are often red flags. Since this is the first step toward understanding the next problem with this meme, which is slightly more abstract, let's just go ahead and take a look at the math. 1.23 times 0.23 equals 0.2829. The 23% tax on $1.23 is approximately 28 cents, so your net would only be 95 cents. You never could afford the milk in the first place. See what I mean when I said that it's worrisome that the author of this meme made such an obvious error in basic math? This misdirection is allowing you to believe all along that you had everything you needed to be comfortable. $1 to trade for 1 gallon of milk. But let's finish up this calculating before we move on to the next section. So in order to net $1 from $1.23, the equation is $1 equals what percent times $1.23. 1 divided by 1.23 gives you that percent, or 0.813. That's your net pay, okay? So now you have to take 1 minus 0.813 equals 0.187, which is 18.7%. So it seems like the person who wrote this really tried to simplify this and wound up making an egregious mistake in the process. But do you really believe that? Because I don't. Here's why. 18.7% is close to the actual withholding rate on a minimum wage paycheck in the United States. So that withholding isn't all federal income tax. It also includes Medicare, FICA, Social Security, and maybe some other things depending on the state that you live in. So the idea itself is realistic in the beginning, the numbers are just really low. Then it goes completely haywire at the punchline when this rudimentary mistake occurs. I'm actually hard-pressed to say that it was a mistake, given the fact that reality seems to be built right into this. It seems like the person who created this meme understood enough about reality in order to manipulate it just enough to serve their agenda of pitting middle-class small business owners against their poverty-stricken employees. It's a hell of a coincidence that the real tax rate to set up this gambit is a realistic tax rate that is then brazenly inflated. It's totally on brand for someone who's also using language like begging for and let that sink in. Moving on. The meme says that you only make $1.23 per day, and then goes on to say that your quintuple raise to $18.45 per day means that the milkman must raise the price of 1 gallon of milk 15 times as well in order to pay the employees at the dairy. It's important to note that because of this one-to-one increase, the original tax rate of 23% on the 1845 would similarly render you unable to afford the milk. The tax rate on 1845 that would leave you with $15 for the milk is also still the 18.7% that we calculated, not the 23% purported in the meme. The problem that is supposed to be the catch in the end was always a problem. So we've reached a fork in the road. So I'm going to discuss the tax rate reality at the end of this video. If you want to continue to that point right away, you can use the timestamps provided in the description to warp to that level and then warp back here when you're done. Next, I'm going to go into some of the more nuanced peculiarities before simulating a dairy farm business to model this alternate reality and show that the assertions of the meme are patently false. What would the price of milk realistically be if the minimum daily wage were increased from $1.23 to $18.45? Let's explore that next by starting from scratch at the dairy. But first things first, two things. For one, let's stop calling the employer the milkman. The milkman delivered milk from farms to homes. He didn't necessarily produce it. A dairy farmer does. You may argue that that is splitting hairs on something that's irrelevant, but it shows something interesting about the author, in my opinion. People familiar with the industry in question wouldn't likely make this mistake. It's also been quite some time since a milkman delivered fresh milk from house to house. No comment on the ageism that implies, but it's just a fact. That being said, it also seems to be a slight homage to the author's true forte. Milkmen are more often associated with fathering illegitimate children than they are with squeezing bovine teats. Sort of like how the author of this meme has fathered an illegitimate version of reality. For two, it's worth drawing attention to the somewhat obvious problem of the milk being unaffordable. It's jerkish to make it so expensive while ignoring other people's possible expenditures. That's why I define the world as one in which milk is a symbol for everything someone needs to survive. The evidently overconfident author of this meme has demonstrated that they are not capable of doing the simple math necessary for basic business bookkeeping or managing a personal budget.
I was trying to help. I thought it would be a nice surprise.
Roman, you're a moron.
Bore on the floor? I'm just saying.
Fuck you. I am not a moron, Dad.
How much is a gallon of milk?
What?
How much is a gallon of milk?
I don't know. I mean, who the fuck knows, Dad? Literally, no one knows. Who gives a shit?
Ray! How much is a gallon of milk?
Well, I mean, like regular milk or...
I am surrounded by snakes and fucking morons!
Items sell for the price that people are able or willing to pay, and people can't force wages to keep up with inflation. So in this alternate reality, there must be something that people can live on besides milk. Say, corn, which probably also comprises the dairy cow's diet. Cake, anyone? That makes milk a luxury, which means that using it as a target product in an argument against the poor, moot. But I'm not going to let that stop me. For all intents and purposes, assume there is a cheaper alternative to milk, corn.